Hello everyone and welcome back to One Soccer. I'm your host for today, Josh Deming, and we are back with another episode of our Canadians Abroad series. This week we will focus in on Alphonso Davies scoring a goal once again for Bayern, Jonathan David putting in an excellent shift up front for Lille, and of course the match to forget for Stefan Eustachio, plus a lot more on our Canadians Abroad. So hopefully you guys are excited, and if you are, as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub, and let's get into the episode now. We are kicking off this week's edition of Canadians Abroad in Germany with Alphonso Davies, as midweek he started and played 90 minutes as a left back in a 4-2-3-1 system in a cup match against Augsburg. In the match, Davies scored a goal and picked up an assist. His goal was really well taken as he charged into the box and smashed the ball into the roof of the net, giving the keeper no chance. His assist was pure genius as he nutmegged the defender in the corner to cut the ball back for Jamal Musiala to slam home with a classy finish. Bayern now advance and will be away to Mainz in the round of 16 of the DFB Pokal on February 1st. At the weekend, Davies started and played all 90 minutes once again as a left back in a 4-2-3-1 system. In the match, Davies had 85 touches, he completed 90% of his passes, he had 9 recoveries, created 3 chances, and had 2 successful dribbles as Bayern went on to pick up a 2-0 win over Hoffenheim to sit second place in the table with a 6-4-1 record. 2 incredible matches for Davies this week. He just keeps getting better and better. There's so much to like about his game. You know exactly what you're going to get from him week in, week out. It was also really good to see Davies score a goal. He hasn't scored a goal for Bayern in a while. He constantly gets up and down the pitch, but this time you could tell against Augsburg he was looking for that goal, and the way he charged in the box with a classy finish, that'll hopefully get him some confidence so the goals can hopefully keep flowing. Heading on over to France now, we are checking in with Jonathan David, who started once again over the weekend, starting and playing 90 minutes as a striker in a 4-2-3-1 system. In the match, David had 4 shots, had 46 touches, completed 83% of his passes, he hit the post once, and he picked up an assist. He won't get credited for that second assist, however Jonathan David did such good work taking on the opposing defender 1v1 and then toe poked the ball off the post, which fell kindly for Cabella to tap home. The technique on the toe poke was incredible. That goal was all Jonathan David. Cabella went on to score a second goal of the match, and this time it was assisted by Jonathan David as he cleverly flicked the ball on for Cabella to run in on goal and hammer past the keeper near post. Lille went on to win the match 4-3 against Monaco to move up to 6th place in the table with a 7-1-4 record. This was a very impressive result from Lille. Jonathan David put in a great shift up front as he was directly involved in 2 of Lille's goals, showing once again that he's more than just a goal scorer. His goal scoring streak unfortunately did come to an end, however it was still an excellent performance from the 22-year-old. I also really like the fact right now that Jonathan David is playing as a lone striker for Lille. There was a lot of debate of whether he should play as a lone striker for Canada or alongside potentially Larin or Ugbo, but considering that Ugbo and Larin are completely out of form and not really playing right now, I really like the idea of Canada probably playing in like a 3-4-3 system or something along the line that really utilizes a lone striker, because Jonathan David has proven that he can do that job. Staying in France, we are checking in with another Canadian striker, as over the weekend, Ugbo began the match on the bench once again as he was subbed into the match in the 87th minute to try to help his side find the winner. Ugbo hasn't started in the last 5 matches, completely losing out on his first team status. Troyes did pick up a result in this match, however, drawing 2-2 against Lorient, and with that result they sit 11th place in the table with a 3-4-5 record. Ugbo has only started once in the last 8 matches, and in that match he was yanked off at halftime. Heading into this season, the expectations were that Ugbo was going to challenge Larin for the starting role alongside David for Canada. However, right now with both Ugbo and Larin heading into the World Cup completely out of form, there's a potential that they both miss out on the starting 11 altogether. Right now, all Ugbo can do is stay patient, wait for the opportunity, and make an impact. We've seen him be a deadly finisher. We know that he can score with limited minutes. Hopefully he will come off the bench in like the 60th minute, give him some time, score a goal, and do his best to fight his way back into the starting 11, because as things stand right now, it's not looking very good that he will get barely any minutes leading up to this World Cup. This episode of Canadians Abroad is sponsored by the new TELUS Sports app. This app provides Canadian soccer fans access to unique features, allowing them to choose in real time between up to 8 different camera angles across multiple devices from multiple viewers to offer the most immersive soccer viewing experience in the comfort of their home or on the go. TELUS Sports is free and available for all Canadians. No signups required. Just download the app on mobile devices through Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Select Android TVs for TELUS subscribers on Optic TV and Pick TV, and web browsers by visiting telusports.ybvr.com. If you want to watch the CPL final between Atletico Ottawa and Forge, download the new TELUS Sports app, and remember, it is free for all Canadians. You don't have to be a TELUS subscriber, so enjoy the finals, Canada. Stefan Eustachio had a fascinating last week. It was full of a lot of highs and a lot of lows. It started off with him picking up the Men's Liga Portugal Midfielder of the Month award for September, and then Eustachio started in a big match against Benfica full of confidence. He started the match as a center mid in a 4-4-2 system. However, unfortunately for Steph, it didn't turn out the way he was hoping for, picking up 2 yellow cards and was given his marching orders in the 27th minute. Porto went on to lose the match 1-0, and they now sit with a 7-1-2 record, second place in the table, 6 points behind Benfica. Eustachio's rise at Porto has been nothing short of incredible. However, this just shows that he is still human and can make mistakes. Despite costing his side in this important match against their arch rivals, I'm hopeful that their manager will demonstrate faith in Eustachio and start him once he returns from his suspension. This will be a great learning opportunity for Eustachio. It was a massive match in Portugal. Porto versus Benfica. This is the one that gets everyone excited. The nerves got to Eustachio a little bit, but hopefully he will just take some lessons from that match, come back stronger, because there will definitely be some nervy matches in the World Cup. We are stopping on over in Belgium to check in with Buchanan, who started over the weekend and played 81 minutes as a right wing in a 4-3-3 system. In the match, Buchanan had 41 touches, 3 recoveries, he created 1 chance, completed 86% of his passes, and he won a penalty, drawing a red card from it as well. Club Brugge went on to draw the match 2-2 against Union Saint-Gilloise to sit 3rd place in the table with a 9-2-3 record. This was such a disappointing result for Club Brugge, as they were winning 2-0 and were up a man since the 14th minute, and yet still conceded 2 goals and had to settle for just a point. Buchanan did play in a more advanced role, doing well running at defenders and doing his best to impact the match. However, overall, it was a really lackluster performance from Club Brugge. Kyle Larin did not feature in the match, and for the 4th match running, he wasn't even a part of the match day squad. It's not looking like he will get very minutes, if any minutes at all, leading up to the World Cup. It's not ideal for Larin to be out of form and low on confidence heading into Qatar. However, Larin is still the all-time leading goal scorer for Canada, and he will be hoping to play a significant role for Canada at the World Cup if he can. Larin has proved in the past it doesn't really matter what his club form is like. He always shows up for the Canadian men's national team, and that's what John Herman will definitely be hoping for. And I'm not really sure how the situation will play out with Club Brugge. He really looks like he's down the pecking order in the striker depth chart. I would say he's probably sitting at 5 right now and not getting minutes at all. And I'm curious to see if on the world's biggest stage he can impress with Canada. Maybe that will lead to some type of transfer come January, or even a potential loan move. Shifting our attention to Turkey now, we are checking in with Samuel Attakubi, who started over the weekend and played all 90 minutes as a left back in a 4-3-3 system. In the match, Attakubi had 66 touches, he had 3 recoveries, 7 clearances, completed 88% of his passes, and had 3 accurate long balls, as Hatayspor went on to win 2-1 against Besiktas to sit 15th place in the table with a 3-1-6 record. Attakubi didn't start for 3 matches in a row before earning his starting role back against Besiktas. Hatayspor's poor season is finally starting to turn around, as they pulled themselves out of the relegation places for the moment. If Attakubi can continue to play like he did over the weekend, he will give his manager Demiral no opportunity but to start him going forward. Attakubi was such an important player for Hatayspor last season, and he was one of the best left backs in the league. It's a little surprising with his rocky start so far, but it's great to see his determination to fight back into the starting 11, not to let his head drop, know what he can do, because we know that he's going to be a very important player for Canada and potentially even a starter. Moving along now over to England, we are checking in with Junior Hoilett, who started over the weekend and played 90 minutes as a right wing back in a 3-5-2 system. In the match, Hoilett had 1 shot, took 5 corners, had 42 touches, and 7 recoveries. Reading went on to win the match 2-0 against Bristol City to sit 8th place in the table with an 8-1-7 record. Hoilett had a solid match once again, and if Canada potentially play a 3-4-3 system, he could play up to 4 positions in that role. He really does look like he could be a key player for Herdman. He can play as a left wing back, a right wing back, a left wing, a right wing. He can even play as a center attacking mid. Hoilett will have a huge opportunity to break into some starting 11 with John Herman. His form for Reading has been great, and I can't wait to see what he can do with Canada in Qatar. Stopping on over in Portugal, we are checking in with Steven Vitoria, who started over the weekend and played 90 minutes as a center back in a 4-2-3-1 system. In the match, Vitoria completed 84% of his passes, he created 2 chances, he had 79 touches, 7 recoveries, 7 clearances, and completed 5 successful long balls. Playing out of the back is one of Vitoria's strongest traits, and he's definitely doing it in full force for Chavez this season. Chavez went on to win the match 3-1 to sit 10th place in the table with a 4-3-3 record. This was a really strong performance from Vitoria once again. He's impressed me all season long, and he should be going into the World Cup with a ton of confidence and should be very satisfied with his form so far this season. Considering the fact that CF Montreal's season is done and the usual back three partnership has two CF Montreal players, Kamal Miller and Alistair Johnston, it's really important that Steven Vitoria plays and stays fit. He's definitely been doing that so far this season, and I think a lot of Canadians will be very excited with the type of player we're going to get for Qatar. Our next stop is Serbia, where we are checking in with Milan Borjan, who started in goal and played 90 minutes for Red Star as they went on to win their match 2-1 against Raninski Niš to sit first place in the table with a 13-2-0 record. A lot of their recent league wins have been very close, but they found a way to get it done, and now their attention shifts back to the Europa League this week as they sit last place in their group only on 3 points, and they have two very tricky matches remaining against Trabzonspor and Monaco. Milan Borjan has been in very good form so far this season, and I know the Europa League means a lot to Red Star. They're really hoping to make it out of this group, or at the bare minimum, continue their European journey and head down to the Europa Conference League. Right now, it's going to be a couple tricky matches, but I think there's a good opportunity they can pull it off. Moving along now to Switzerland, we are checking in with Liam Miller, who is back in the starting 11 as he started and played all 90 minutes as a left wing in a 4-3-3 system. In the match, Miller had 56 touches, 4 shots, 2 successful dribbles. He created 1 chance and he hit the woodwork as Basel went on to win 3-1 to sit 5th place in the table with a 4-5-3 record. Miller has now started 2 matches in a row and played very well in both of them. He wasn't starting for a few weeks and it definitely was frustrating for him after having such a successful previous season. He showed great patience and determination to fight his way back into the starting 11, and he put 2 good shifts in to justify the manager's decision. Miller, similar to Corbiano and Brym, are bubble players for Herman. Now looking at Miller's form last season, it was almost unthinkable to think that he could potentially be a bubble player. He's been with his national team for a very long time, but I'm very impressed with seeing what he's done. He fell out of form a little bit, but he's battled back. He's doing his talking on the pitch, and I can't wait to see if he can make that final squad. Our next stop is Greece, where we are checking in with Derek Cornelius, who started over the weekend and played 90 minutes as a center back in a 4-3-3 system. In the match, Cornelius completed 90% of his passes, he had 6 clearances, 2 recoveries, and had 53 touches as Panathinaikos went on to lose the match 2-0 against Olympiacos to sit 7th place in the table with a 3-2-4 record. It was another solid performance from Cornelius as he's continued to play every minute for Panathinaikos so far this season. Olympiacos was definitely a challenging opponent, however he handled himself well in that match, and similar to Kennedy, he will be playing football up until the World Cup begins, which will make things very competitive as Miller's season is done. Canada has 3 very capable left-footed center backs, and right now, if you ask me, the depth chart is probably Kamal Miller, Scott Kennedy, and then Derek Cornelius, but the fact that this World Cup's a little different, is being played in November, means the MLS season is done, Miller's season is done, so this could give it a bit of an advantage for Kennedy and Cornelius to think that their form could continue up until the World Cup and give them a fighting shot to break into that starting 11 for Canada. Heading back on over to Germany, we're checking in with Scott Kennedy, who started over the weekend and played 90 minutes as a center back in a 4-2-3-1 system. In the match, Kennedy had 69 touches, 9 clearances, 7 recoveries, 4 interceptions, and had 5 successful long balls, looking very comfortable playing out of the back once again. His long-range passing has always been a very underrated part of his game. Jan Regensburg went on to win the match 2-1 to move up to 9th place in the table with a 5-3-5 record. Kennedy's great form continues, playing some of his best and most consistent football that I've ever seen from him. It's perfect timing as well, as he will be playing football right up until the World Cup starts, and his competition Kamal Miller's season has come to an end last weekend. Now, it's probably fair to assume that Kamal Miller is the guy right now to start at that outside left center back or left center back position. However, his season is done right now. His form could potentially shift, which could give Kennedy the advantage going into that camp. Maybe his form just shines and there's a potential that he could start at least one match at this upcoming World Cup for Canada. Moving along now to Scotland, we are checking in with David Wotherspoon, who played his 2nd match in 11 months since returning from his ACL injury. He was subbed into the match in the 63rd minute as St. Johnstone were looking to turn things around as they were trailing 1-0. They pulled off an impressive comeback, winning 2-1 against Hibernian to sit 9th place in the table with a 4-1-7 record. Canada has definitely had their fair share of midfield injuries. Could David Wotherspoon be the answer? Now, I know it's tough coming back from an ACL injury, but the fact that he's starting to play a little bit, hopefully this minutes will just continue to improve, maybe get a couple of starts before the World Cup begins, and then he will be a real option for John Herman. Because right now, we don't really have a lot of midfielders at our disposal, and on top of that, we don't really have a lot of center attacking mids. So if John Herman decides to potentially play like a 4-2-3-1 system, or even a 3-5-2 system but with an attacking mid, David Wotherspoon could be a beautiful opportunity to include in that team. So I can't wait to see the way that he progresses, gets healthier, and seeing if he's going to be an opportunity for Herman come World Cup time. Shifting our attention on over to the Netherlands, we are checking in with Charles Andreas Brym, who started over the weekend and played 90 minutes as a right wing in a 3-4-3 system. In the match, Brym had 54 touches, 4 recoveries, he had 2 shots, completed 90% of his passes, created 1 chance, and was really struggling to take on defenders in this match. Eindhoven went on to lose the match 3-0 and then now sit 4th place in the table with a 6-4-2 record. It wasn't a great outing for Eindhoven or Brym, and he just wasn't able to impact the match at all. He went into this match scoring 2 goals in his previous one, however he just wasn't able to replicate that form. Brym is one of those bubble players right now who is looking to make that 26-man squad for Canada. The number one thing, in my opinion, he has going for him is the fact that he's playing consistently. He plays almost every single minute for FC Eindhoven. His form hasn't been as good as it was last season, however, he still shows glimpses of what he can do. Hopefully, he will just find the way to keep scoring goals, impacting matches, and that'll be the best opportunity for him to make the squad. Our next stop is Major League Soccer, where we are checking in with Maxime Crépeau, who started in goal for LAFC in a 4-3-3 system in playoff action, making 2 saves, having 34 touches, 7 recoveries, and faced an XG of 1.21, conceding 2 goals as LAFC went on to win the match 2-1 against LA Galaxy in the quarterfinals of MLS Cup. Crépeau becomes the last Canadian standing in MLS playoffs as their semifinal match is against Austin FC at home October 30th, 2022. They should be the favorites right now to win the cup. LAFC are a really intriguing story. They weren't expected to do very well when the season began. They overachieved, brought in some big names, their form started to slip, but yet they still went on to win the Supporters' Shield. And right now in playoff action, they found a way to take on the other LA side and move on to the semifinals right now. They got a tough task against Austin FC, but I think there's a good opportunity they can find a way to go on and win this whole thing, and maybe Maxime Crépeau can win another piece of silverware this season. One Canadian moved on, which meant another was eliminated because on the flip side of that result, Raheem Edwards started and played 90 minutes as a left back in a 4-3-3 system. In the match, Edwards completed 83% of his passes, he had 85 touches, created 1 chance, had 12 recoveries, and had 4 interceptions as the LA Galaxy bowed out against LAFC, bringing their season to an end. Edwards, who is on the outside looking in, may find it even harder to break into that 26-man Canada roster now that his season is over. Although the seasons of Edwards, Schaffelberg, and the CF Montreal players have come to an end, there will be a camp on November 11th against Bahrain. It'll be mainly for MLS players, so this will be a big opportunity for these guys to stay fit and potentially do a last impression on Herman before he selects his roster. Moving along now to NWSL playoff action, Kaitlyn Sheridan started in goal for San Diego Wave in the semifinals of the NWSL Challenge Cup. In the match, she made 6 saves, had 64 touches, 14 recoveries, and conceded 2 goals as San Diego Wave fell 2-1 against the Portland Thorns. Janine Becky and Christine Sinclair were substituted into the match for the Thorns in the 77th and the 90th minute respectively, as the 2 Canadians will be heading to the NWSL Challenge Cup final, where they will take on Desiree Scott and the Kansas City Current. Speaking of Desiree Scott and KC and how they got to their final, Scott started the match as a center mid in a 3-1-4-2 system. She played 90 minutes as KC went on to win the match 2-0 over OL Reign, sending them to the final. It was heartbreak for both Quinn and Heidema as they crashed out at home. The final will be played on October 29th and at least 1 Canadian will taste glory. It is all set up to be an incredible final that sees Scott take on Becky and Sinclair. I can't wait to see how this one plays out and which Canadian or Canadians will go home with the title and bragging rights. That is all the time we have for on this edition of Canadians Abroad. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub as well. Also, be sure to subscribe over to One Soccer for all the best Canadian soccer coverage. My name is Josh Deming. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers, friends.